What is going on? Hopefully you're having a great Sabbath Saturday. Welcome back. Yeah, it's a nice day out, at least here where I'm at. I went for a nice little walk this morning, nothing crazy. And I've been first couple of weeks kind of talking about a lot of staying out of the churches. And if you are coming and trying to be more spiritual, just go directly to the source, right? And that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit today. Because which source depends very much on what you learn and how you interpret information. So I want to try to clear some things up and probably make you realize a very important issue that Christianity has. And this is probably the most important issue Christianity has. So we'll take a little bit of a look at that. But as far as that, hopefully you're gonna have a great day. Hopefully you have a great day with the family. Whatever kind of things that you do, get the family together, read, study, worship, and do all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna share with you this little thing. This might not be too long today, but this is let me extend this out here. This is what you'll see a lot in churches. Not all churches, and like I've kind of mentioned before, not all churches are going to be bad. Vast majority of them will be absolutely awful. They're going to be awful for you. But this is case in point of this pastor, United Methodist pastor, basically explains why he refused to read scriptures, reading or saying amen to it. And this is the quote: Do I really want to read that verse from Leviticus and say this in the Word of God? And actually, as a gay man, no, I don't. So that is a very big issue, right? Because if you're piecemealing all right. If you're piecemealing together the Bible, which you will find that many churches, one of the reasons why I say those churches is because many churches actually piecemeal the Bible to make their case on whatever they want, their own lesson. And that is absolutely not the way to go about it. You're not to just take from Ruth, then take from Matthew, and then take from Leviticus, and then take from First Peter, and then take from Malachi, right? If you do that, what do you? You could do that with so much. The Bible's huge. You could do that and come up with any belief that you want, pretty much. And that is probably one of the bigger issues that we do have in Christianity, is piecemeal teachings. And that is one that needs to be undone. Piecemeal teaching should go away. And people just need to get back to reading it. You'd be amazed at what goes on inside church buildings, and they are direct conflict with what's actually in the Bible. So the other part then I'm going to get to, right, because I've been hitting on just get to reading the Bible. Get to reading the Bible. I've said that over the past few weeks. Here's where I'm going to say this is the biggest issue Christianity has, okay, is the Bible itself. This is kind of different types of the way Bibles are translated, okay? And you can see it's basically just a spectrum, right? This is how you'd see a spectrum, word for word, thought for thought, paraphrase for different kind of Bible translations. The big issue with this, not really much of anything. Really. Other than that, you need to make sure whichever way you read actually conveys the full message intended. The full message intended. That is very important. You'll see down here at the bottom, there's a lot of different Bibles actually here listed out. But that's kind of the other really important point that I was going to make. How many Bibles are there? I mean, this AI says 3,600 in English Bibles. I don't think that's correct. This little headline here for this website says there's over 3,600 in 2,342 languages. That I would probably believe. Now there's a website down here, comprehensive list of English versions. I already did bring it up. And you can see there are dozens. There's dozens. There's dozens. I mean, this has a list of over 70, 71. Obviously, you're going to have some of the more popular ones, and these are going to be the really popular ones, the most popular ones that are probably in this list, probably the ones that you've heard of. This is a very popular one, NIV, the New International Version, and it is absolutely trash. I would not recommend that version to anybody. This is the version I read first. And it sucks. You should absolutely not read that version. That you should just burn that version or keep it around for just an example for how bad it is. And I'll make a case point. So I'll go over here. I'll make a case point here. So first, you'll see this is using Bible Gateway. And I'll just scroll through the list. There's so many. There's probably over 100 different versions of the Bible translated in English, using different methodologies. The methodology doesn't really matter, going back to the different way it's translated. That doesn't really matter. You need to make sure the Bible you read conveys the message. And what I will say is there is a very good verse. I didn't really have this planned out, but there is a very good verse. Is it Matthew? Where? Oh, it's 15. Here we go. So I'm going to read this first in the NIV, which I'm going the wrong direction. Where? No, it's right here. The NIV. So I'm going to read this first in NIV, and there's a section here that leads you to misunderstand something. I'm going to bring up, see if I can back it out so you can see the whole section. Okay. So this is the whole section that kind of a context of Jesus coming into contact with a woman from Canaan. So leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him crying out, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is a demon-possessed and suffering terribly." Jesus did not answer a word, so his disciples came to him and urged him, "Send her away, for she keeps crying out after us." He answered, "I was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel." The woman came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. He replied, "It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." "Yes, it is, Lord," she said. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus said to her, "Woman, you have shown great faith. Your request is granted," and your daughter was healed at that moment. And her daughter was healed at that moment. So I didn't really need to read all the rest of that because it's really kind of more of right here. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. So you have that mindset when you read this. You have this mindset that this is a Canaanite woman because it says it right there. That's the mindset you have in this version, in the NIV version. But Jesus then says, well, he only came for the lost sheep of Israel. If you don't fully unaware of the Canaanite Israel history part of the Bible, then yeah, you would know that this version is literally making it out to be like Jesus then has come for everyone. Like, not just the lost sheep of Israel. Or maybe it's trying to make out that the Canaanites are part of the lost sheep of Israel. Right? Because he helps her right after he says that. But she's a Canaanite woman. Okay. So I'm going to go to a version I think it's decent, but it still has issues. All the versions will have this issue. So here it is. So a Gentile shows her faith in this section, title of this section, and then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon, and behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed." This is completely different, right? It's a woman of Canaan from that region. From that region. That is a completely different understanding. Completely different. Anybody can be there, right? There's probably Chinese people living in Mexico. Are they Mexican? Well, no, but they're Chinese living in Mexico, right? So that is a completely different context. If you were to make me title this section, because I know a lot of Bibles have like these little section titles now. The old Bibles don't have that, right? If you were to make me title this section, this is how I would title this section. Jesus finds a lost sheep. That's how I would title this. Because throughout the rest of that little section, right, he says, I was only sent for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And she even demonstrates her faith. And then Jesus helps her, saying, "Woman, you have great faith." And her daughter was healed. The reason why she knows of him is because she is aware of the prophecies that he is to come. And the only way you would know about that is if you are following the faith from, what we know as the Old Testament. So this is a clear example of what happens when things are not translated correctly. And that is more important than, just word for word, thought for thought, or paraphrase. You need to make sure the message is conveyed correctly in whatever context you're talking about in the Bible. That is very important. Very important. The first time I read this section in that NIV verse, and Canaanite woman, and then he helps her, and I'm like, whoa, because it contradicts everything. Not every. I mean, it contradicts, basically the whole premise of what is said in the Old Testament. It is. So that's why, and then it also then contradicts this right here. this right here. It makes you think, oh, Jesus is here for everybody. But that is absolutely not what is said. And I've looked at it in the original Greek. The New King James Version is much more accurate. This is much more accurate. So that is one part of making sure you understand what Bible verse or Bible you are using to read. The next thing I'll say is, okay, well, all of these, all of them, all of the English Bibles, they are going to basically come from, well, the source, which is the Greek, right? How many different Bibles are there in Greek? Really, there's one. Okay, the only spot, the only time where there is a variation in the Greek is going to be in the Old Testament. Remember, the New Testament and some of the older parts of the Old Testament are written in Greek. The New Testament's fully written in Greek. So the only possible issues that you will run into is going to be in the Old Testament stuff, and obviously all the old, the beginning parts of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, all that kind of stuff. All that's going to be originally written in Hebrew. So when you talk about different translations that go like the Greek Bible, well, really, there's going to be one New Testament because it's written in Greek. So there's only one Bible in Greek. Now, when you get into talking about the Old Testament, there was the Septuagint, however you say that word. I've heard it said subjugate and Septuagint. This is kind of like the standard Old Testament in Greek. This was written during what is known as the Great Silence period, which is after the end of the Old Testament, before the New Testament. And it kind of even says it right here. The earliest and most significant Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible dating back to the 3rd, 1st centuries BC. So that is where I think that is a very significant source, because that is the oldest form of the full Old Testament being, or what we know as the Old Testament being translated into Greek. So that's what I'll say about that. That is a tough one, because you can also go then and look at the Hebrew and see if there's any contradictions. But if you ask me, what then is the best Bible to read in English? And I'm going to say every single one that I've seen is flawed, because there's one thing that you can look for, and if they have this one issue, then yeah, they're not correct. And that's the difference. And when you look at the way certain peoples are translated to English, a certain people is definitely hiding and making themselves out to be somebody that they're not. And that's a big difference in understanding, because you are not to, how do you want to say this? You're not really supposed to like co-mingle. Like, that was kind of like the first thing that the Lord mentions to the Israelites, is like, hey, yeah, you're not supposed to, he tells them, I don't want you mingling with them. And for whatever reason, I mean, not for whatever reason, but people have, one, stopped reading the Bible. They don't read it. They worship the great deceiver more than anything else. And they don't know the Bible. And one of the biggest reasons why is because of the English language. Even people that do read the Bible, they don't read the Bible. They read the Bible in English, the translated version. You don't read the real Bible that is written in Greek. So, yes, it is very difficult for English speakers or people that know English to understand the Bible. And the reason why there's so much confusion, we can just go back to that. The reason why there's so much confusion is this massive list of variants of Bibles in English. I mean, that is a very clear understanding that yes, there is an issue. We have an issue. And that is one of the things that I'm kind of working on. There is a massive issue, and that is which Bible is correct in English. None of them. That's the problem. None of them are correct. So even the ones that are reading these versions in English aren't reading an accurate translation of the Bible. And if you want to know why there's so many different versions of the Bible, it comes down to one thing: copyright and money making. I can make money off of selling my version of the Bible. I can copyright it. And there you go. So yeah, it's all about mammon, and the demons that are in the Bible are trying to corrupt the people yet again, because that is much of the stories and lessons that should be taken away in the Old Testament. So that is what I'll say about that. It is a very difficult thing to realize. It is such a pain to realize this. And when you realize that much of the history is written in one or in some older languages that are not as common today, but then you are relying on certain peoples to translate it for you, are they doing it correctly? That's a great question. That is a fantastic question. You know, I talked to some theology mate or whatever, and you would have thought that he would have, like, they would have instructed him at the university, wherever he went, to take courses in Greek. That way he could better look up the information himself, see the original text. But no, that's not what they tell him. That is what, if you want to really be close with God and Jesus, you need to look up and start understanding the original Greek. Period. You've got to start understanding the original Greek. We'll leave it there. Kind of short, but that is a point that needs to be vocalized. Vocalized. Like, everybody needs to start to learn. I'm not saying you need to learn Greek, but you need to start to understand that, yeah, why is there so many English versions of one Bible that comes from Greek? It's all to corrupt you. It's all to corrupt you. And you saw that one pastor that doesn't want to talk about one part in the Bible because he's a gay man. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Christianity, man, you're too gullible. Stop listening to the demons. The demons are why Christianity has massive issues. You think everything is on the up and up. Nope. That is the devil and Satan making themselves out to be an angel of light, as said in the New Testament. Stop doing that. Start going to the original Greek. I'm not saying you got to be able to read the Greek, but you can definitely learn it to where you can say, okay, there's definitely words here or phrases here or context here that's not correct with how I understand it in Greek. And yeah, you should maybe even start to just understand and learn Greek. It's amazing. That Bible is still relevant. They haven't made new versions of the Greek Bible. You know, that Bible's still there. Anyways, have a great Sabbath Saturday. God bless. Take care.